Welcome back to Beacon English Podcast.
It's great to be back.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're looking at something really foundational for starting English conversations.
That's right. We're diving into how effective beginner conversation practice is structured, specifically using that very common topic, your school routine.
Right, so it's about understanding the basic building blocks, isn't it? The techniques that help learners, well, get going quickly.
Exactly. The mission, really, for you listening, is to see how you can learn fast and sound, clear and confident in a situation you'll definitely face.
We're basically looking at a structured guide, a kind of plan designed to take simple daily stuff
Yeah, things you do every day.
and turn it into natural English chat, easy dialogue.
And it's smart choosing school routine. Think about it, talking about your day, it's often how you start talking to new people, right?
Absolutely. Meeting new friends, maybe talking to teachers or colleagues later on.
So the main goal here is making you functional, like immediately, ready for that first conversation.
So let's start with why school routine. Strategically, why is this such a good core topic for beginners?
Well, from a teaching angle, it's clever because it mainly uses the simple present tense.
Ah, the I study tense. The basic one.
Precisely. It's the bedrock, really, the simplest verb form. And the words you need, school, book, lunch, they're common high-frequency words. Things learners probably already understand as concepts.
So it keeps the grammar simple. That means you, the learner, can focus your brain power on just remembering the words and putting them in order.
Exactly. It lowers the mental effort, the cognitive load. You're not wrestling with tricky grammar like past tenses or future forms right away,
That makes sense. Less to worry about.
which means you can retrieve the words faster and you're likely to make fewer mistakes. That's huge for confidence.
And the material we're looking at, it seems to zero in on two really key questions right away. They feel like anchors for the whole conversation.
Yeah, they're crucial. What time do you go to school? That's one.
And what subjects do you like? That's the other. Why those two specifically?
They'll think of them as like conversation starters for this topic. If you can answer these confidently, the rest of the chat just naturally flows from there.
So it moves you from just saying facts to actually, having a back and forth.
Exactly. You're engaging. You're in a real conversation.
And the guide really pushes for simplicity to get clarity, doesn't it? It starts with these very basic sentence structures, no complicated stuff.
Absolutely. Look at the examples they give. They're models of keeping it short and sweet.
Yeah.
Like, I get up early. Simple.
Or I go to school by bus.
And I study English in the morning.
They're nearly all just 3, 4, maybe 5 words long, very direct. Why is that short sentence length so good for, say, an A1 level beginner?
Ah, that's a really key point in teaching. These short sentences, they minimize the chance of making a grammar mistake or pausing too much.
Right. If you try a longer sentence, there are more places to mess up.
Exactly. More chances for errors with word order or prepositions or verb endings. And when you make errors, you often stop. You try to correct yourself.
And that slows down the conversation and makes it feel awkward.
Precisely. But with these short sentences, subject, simple verb, maybe an object or a time phrase, you can do it perfectly, again and again.
So performing that simple task right gives you a little win each time. Positive reinforcement.
Yes. And that success builds your confidence. It makes you want to say more. You start mastering the basic frame, like I plus verb plus something.
And once you master that simple frame, you move from just knowing words to actually using them to talk about your own life.
That's the leap, from passive knowledge to active speaking. If things feel too complex, you tend to stay quiet. Master the simple stuff, and you start talking straight away. You become functional, fast.
Okay, so let's move into the vocabulary itself. It's not just a random list, is it? It seems very ordered.
Right, it's presented like a story, a sequence. The guide gives you the action words you need to describe a whole school day from beginning to end, chronologically.
It gives you the tools to build the narrative arc of your day.
And the words they chose are very deliberate. 9 essential activity words. Each one is simple, clear, and common. Let's go through them because the order matters. It follows how we naturally think about routines.
Okay, what's first?
Number 1, wake up. The very start. Can't do much before that.
Makes sense. Number 2.
Get ready. This covers a lot, like brushing teeth, getting dressed. It's a really useful phrasal verb.
Okay. 3.
Pack my bag. Very specific to being a student,
Okay.
right? And it needs an object. My bag.
Got it. 4 is key.
Go to school. The main movement. And this connects later to talking about how you go, like by bus.
5 must be.
Study. The main reason for the routine, really. The core purpose.
6. A bit more specific.
Take notes. So an action you do while studying. Still concrete, but related to the school context.
Pheasant is universal.
Eat lunch. Everyone needs a break. Everyone understands lunch.
Eat signals the end.
Finish classes. A clear marker that the main part of the school day is over.
And finally, number 9, closing the loop.
Do homework. The task that often finishes the school-related activities for the day. And this one's important for a grammar point later, too.
What's really helpful, I think, is how the guide doesn't just give you the verb like wake up. It immediately puts it in a sentence.
Yes, often with a time. I wake up at 7, or I finish classes at 3.
That's powerful, isn't it? It shows you exactly how to use the word in a real sentence. It's modeling.
Absolutely vital. Knowing the definition of wake up is one thing. Knowing you can say, I wake up at 7, that's communication power. You're practicing complete correct sentences from the get-go.
But then comes the next step, right? Connecting these individual actions. The guide introduces the word and.
Yes, and this is a simple but huge step. It stops you sounding like a robot just listing facts.
Like instead of, I wake up, I get ready, I go to school, which sounds a bit choppy.
Exactly. By linking simple sentences with and, even just that one word, you start creating a flow, a simple story.
Like, I wake up at 7 and I go to school at 8.
Precisely. It connects the facts into a sequence.
Okay, but let me push back slightly here. If a learner just uses and all the time, I wake up and I get ready and I pack my bag and I go to school, doesn't that risk sounding a bit repetitive or maybe even lead to run-on sentences later?
That's a fair question. It gets to the idea of scaffolding building skills step by step. At this very early stage, A1, the main goal isn't perfect grammar variety. It's about getting the words out smoothly and logically.
Ah, okay. So and helps manage the thinking process.
Yes, it keeps the grammar simple, still just basic sentences, but it lets you link ideas in time order. You learn the concept of sequence without needing harder words like then or after that.
So it's like training wheels for connecting thoughts. I wake up at 7 and I go to school at 8. That feels much more connected.
It does. Or I eat lunch at 12 and I do homework in the evening. The whole feel of the conversation changes. It's more cohesive.
It sounds less like separate data points and more like a description.
Exactly. That ability to link events is a key psychological step towards feeling more fluent. It shows you, the learner, that you can actually sustain an idea across more than one action. So the whole approach is built cleverly. Step 1. Master those basic action sentences we just talked about.
Right. The I do this sentences.
Step 2. Start adding details. Layering and specificity. This is where subjects and time phrases come in. But emphasis only after that foundation is solid.
So you don't overwhelm the learner.
Exactly. It turns those simple, maybe generic sentences into something more detailed, more personal, but without making the grammar harder.
Okay, let's look at the specifics. The subject vocabulary covered is pretty standard. Math, English, science, art, good core subjects. How does the guide suggest talking about them?
It keeps it really simple again. You can use I study, like I study math.
Or, is there another way?
Yes, there's a slightly more schedule-focused way. I have on day. For example, I have English on Monday.
I have. That introduces the idea of a timetable, doesn't it? And using the preposition on with days of the week, that's important.
It is. It moves from just stating a fact, I study English, to talking about your actual schedule. I have English on Monday. More practical.
And then there are the time phrases. How does the guide handle talking about when things happen during the day?
It focuses on the big blocks of time. In the morning, after lunch, in the afternoon.
So again, keeping it simple, it avoids more specific times like at noon or around 2:30.
Exactly. It avoids tricky time prepositions or more idiomatic phrases. The goal is clear communication using easy, high-frequency chunks. Like in the morning, getting that right is a big win for beginners. Many languages say it differently.
So let's see how putting these layers together works. You start with something basic like I study.
Right. Then you add the subject, I study English.
And then the time phrase. I study English emphasis in the morning. Suddenly, it's much more informative.
Instantly richer, yes. Or take, I have lunch. Add the time context. I have lunch emphasis after class. It connects actions logically.
And you can combine things from part 2 and part 3, like I go to school in the morning and finish classes in the afternoon.
Yes. And look at that sentence. It's detailed, it flows, but the grammar is still simple present tense and basic structures.
So this layering strategy is really key. It lets you add detail, sound more, specific,
Without needing complex grammar rules, you feel like you're saying more, like your English is more advanced than maybe the pure A1 grammar suggests.
And that feeling, that confidence boost, that's a huge part of learning, isn't it?
It's arguably the most important part at this stage. It keeps you motivated. It shows you tangible results quickly. You can satisfy someone's curiosity about your day without getting tangled up in difficult grammar. Okay, so we've seen what the guide suggests saying. But just as important is how it suggests you practice it. Knowing the words isn't enough.
Right. You need to be able to use them quickly, automatically, in a real conversation.
Exactly. Active use, not just passive knowledge. And this guide highlights 3 key ways to practice to really make the language stick.
Let's look at the first one. Technique 1 is practice, drill, and variation. Can you explain that?
Yeah, this is where you take a basic sentence frame and you just change one small piece of information quickly. So the example given is practice, I wake up at 7, then immediately you have to change it. I wake up at 6:30.
Or maybe change the place. I eat lunch at school, then I eat lunch at home.
Precisely. What this does is it trains your brain to be flexible. It stops you just memorizing one fixed sentence like a parrot.
Because in real life, your details change, right? Your routine isn't exactly the same every single day.
Exactly. So this drill helps you practice swapping out the information, the time, the place, the subject, while keeping the basic sentence structure solid. You learn the frame is reliable, but the content inside can change.
It builds that mental agility, the ability to substitute quickly. It mimics how you have to adapt in a real chat. If you can change the time in I wake up, you can probably change the subject in I study English.
It proves the structure is reusable, portable, very smart practice.
Okay, what's technique 2? Personalization and memory.
This one's about connecting the language to emphasis you, your real life, your feelings, your memories.
So instead of just repeating, my favorite subject is math, you actually think about your favorite subject.
Yes. Or use phrases like, I loved science, if that's true for you. Or maybe you remember something funny, like, I used to forget my lunchbox sometimes.
Why does making it personal help so much?
Because emotions and personal memories are incredibly powerful anchors for learning. You're much more likely to remember a sentence about something you genuinely feel or experienced.
Than just a generic practice sentence from a book.
Absolutely. It makes the language instantly relevant. It stops being abstract information and becomes part of your story, your self-expression in English. It helps integrate the language more deeply.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, and the third technique. Technique 3 is shadowing. What exactly is that?
Shadowing is basically listening and repeating almost immediately, trying to copy the sounds, the rhythm, the intonation, the music of the language. The guide says practice sentences first slowly, then faster, like natural English.
Using the example, I do my homework in the evening. So you listen, then you say it, trying to sound like the speaker.
Exactly. This is crucial for sounding clear and natural, but it's often missed when people just learn vocabulary lists. Shadowing works on your pronunciation, how words link together, where the stress falls in a sentence. It builds your speaking muscles, literally.
Can you explain that linking sounds a bit more? Why does practicing at natural speed help people understand you better?
Well, native English speakers don't usually say every single word perfectly separately. Words flow together.
Like might sound more like do me.
Sort of, yes. I do my homework might sound like I do my homework. There are natural connections and sometimes reductions in sounds. If you say every word very carefully separated, I, to, my, home, work, it can actually sound a bit unnatural and might even be harder for a native speaker to process quickly.
So shadowing helps you hear and make those natural connections.
Yes. It trains your mouth and your ear for the real rhythm and flow of spoken English. It closes the gap between textbook sentences and how people actually talk.
So even if you know the words and grammar, shadowing adds that layer of sounding, well, more fluent and easier to understand.
It's the final polish, absolutely. It makes a huge difference to how confident you sound and how easily others understand you. Okay, so after learning the words, the sentences, and the practice techniques, the guide brings it all together in a sample dialogue. This is the model for how a real conversation might go.
It shows you the payoff, right? How all those pieces fit together in an actual exchange.
Exactly. And it uses those key questions we talked about earlier. It starts with that anchor. What time do you go to school?
And the answer is simple and direct, using the structure learned. I go to school at 8. Straightforward.
Then the conversation might continue, maybe asking about homework. Do you do your homework after class?
And notice the model answer here. Yes, I do. I usually study in the evening. It's interesting they include yes, I do.
That's a great point. Using that short auxiliary confirmation, yes, I do, no, I don't, is a very common, polite, and efficient way to answer yes-no questions in English before giving more detail.
So it helps you sound, as the guide suggests, short, clear, friendly. Answer the question directly first.
Precisely. Resist the urge, especially as a beginner, to launch into a long explanation straight away. Direct answer first, then add detail if needed or asked. It keeps the conversation moving smoothly.
This brings us to the final check, the mini quiz. The guide uses this as a feedback tool, and the questions chosen seem very targeted.
They are highly strategic. They're not random grammar points. They focus on very common, very predictable mistakes that beginners often make, usually because of how their first language works.
Okay, let's break down the examples given. First one. Choosing between make or do for homework, the correct answer is B. I do my homework.
Right. This tests collocation, which words naturally go together in English.
Mm-hmm.
Many languages use a verb that translates more like make for homework. So, I make homework is a really common error based on translating directly.
So the quiz spots that common error and reinforces the correct English pairing, do homework.
Exactly. Fixes a high-frequency mistake pattern.
Okay, second quiz point. Prepositions for transport. Choosing between by bus or in bus, the answer is A, by bus. I go to school by bus.
Another classic. You are physically in the bus, so learners often think in is logical. But for the general method of transport, English uses by bus, by train, by car, by bike.
Unless you're talking about a specific vehicle maybe, like I'm in the car.
Yes, that's different. But for the general way you travel, it's by. Getting this little preposition right makes your English sound much more natural.
Good point. And the third quiz example, subject-verb agreement. Choosing, my favorite subject is English versus my favorite subject are English. Answer B is.
This tackles singular versus plural confusion. You might be thinking about lots of subjects, math, science, art, which feels plural.
Right, but the actual subject of that specific sentence is my favorite subject, which is singular.
Exactly. So the verb needs to be singular, is. It's easy to get tripped up if the noun closest to the verb is plural, like if you said, my thoughts on the subjects are, but here it's my favorite subject is. Reinforcing this helps avoid a very common grammatical slip-up.
So the quiz acts like a final check on these really common sticky points. Word partners, collocations, tricky prepositions, and subject-verb agreement. Very efficient.
It's a neat little feedback loop. You learn the actions, the times, the subjects, you practice combining them, and then the quiz helps lock in those tricky grammar details.
And the guide finishes by encouraging you, the learner, to actually say the whole routine out loud. Why is that final step so important?
We touched on it with shadowing, but it's worth saying again. Speaking is a physical skill. You need to move your mouth, use your breath, get used to the sounds, vocalizing the whole routine you've built.
From waking up to studying to homework.
It solidifies everything. It connects the mental knowledge to the physical act of speaking. It builds fluency and confidence in a way that just thinking the sentences never can.
So if you're using material like this, don't just read it silently. Speak it out, loudly, multiple times, maybe getting faster each time, like the shadowing practice.
Definitely. That's how you truly make it your own. #Doug conclusion.
So wrapping up, what we've really looked at today is a very systematic way to build basic conversational skill. It's a clear, disciplined approach.
It really is. Start with the core actions, simple verbs, simple present tense. Then layer on the details time, subjects to add richness.
And crucially, use those active practice methods, drilling variations, making it personal, and shadowing the sounds. That combination seems key.
It moves you from just knowing about the language to actually using it, confidently and clearly, for a real-life purpose.
The big takeaway, then, for you listening seems to be that this structure, action, time, sequence, practice, isn't just for school routines, is it?
Not at all. That's the emphasis beauty of it. It's transferable. If you can confidently talk about your school day using this method, you have the basic tools to talk about almost any daily routine.
Like your work routine, or what you do on weekends.
Exactly. Your hobbies, maybe describing a typical travel day, the core grammar, simple present, action verbs, time phrases, linking with and. It all still applies. You just swap out the specific vocabulary.
So we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Based on what we've analyzed, those core actions, the time segments, linking words.
But what other daily structure in your life could you map out this week using these same simple building blocks?
Could you describe your workday, or maybe your Saturday routine? Think, I wake up, I go to Uncle A, I finish, I do, in the morning, afternoon.
Try mapping it out. Identify the key actions for that routine. Frame them with time words, link them with and then practice saying it aloud. Use the techniques.
Because the confidence you build by mastering this one simple routine, like the school day.
That's the key that can unlock your ability to talk about so much more in your life. Keep practicing, keep applying the structures.
It's been really insightful breaking this down. Keep learning, and importantly, keep speaking.
That's the goal. Keep speaking.